Thanks to a comic book spin-off, the greatest possible sequel to Krampus is just waiting to be adapted into a feature film. Nearly a decade after the 2015 horror film was released, fans still look back on the original wondering why nothing more came from the incredibly creative holiday film. The 2015 film by Michael Dougherty focused on a small family whose Christmas spirit was long gone, causing them to be visited by Santa Claus's malevolent companion, Krampus. The movie was a hit among fans everywhere, but despite acclaim from fans and critics, as well as a decent box office showing, the film stands alone. However, there's another tale in the Krampus universe, and it would make for a perfect sequel. Krampus Shadow of St. Nicholas is an anthology graphic novel that was released a week before Krampus hit theaters. Krampus director Michael Dougherty created the stories along with Krampus screenwriter Todd Casey and Zach Shields. The first story is about a nameless mall Santa whose Christmas spirit is at an all-time low when he discovers the last of his war buddies has passed away. However, the Santa is forced to use his military know-how when he and a group of orphans are besieged by a group of Krampus's demons during a freak snowstorm. The Santa leads his kids to safety and makes a valiant attempt to stand up to Krampus himself, only to seemingly perish. The next story follows a police officer who's struggling after her sister was killed in a hit and run. In a cosmic twist of fate, she runs into her sister's murderer and, after a long bitter confrontation and a fight with Krampus's elves, finally forgives him. The third story revolves around a greedy property developer who has a home demolished that several unhoused people were squatting in. On Christmas Eve, the developer is taken by Krampus's minions and shown the tragic lives of the people he tossed out into the cold, opening his eyes up enough to change his ways. The final story ties everything together and reveals that the protagonists of the stories are still alive and embracing Christmas with new friends and family. But they are all left a bell by Krampus to remind them that he's still watching. Krampus is not the first holiday-themed horror movie, but it was the first major motion pictures about the offbeat folklore figure. The film centered around the Engel family, particularly the son Max, a boy who wanted nothing more than to celebrate Christmas with his loved ones. Unfortunately, Max is at the age where it's finally dawning on him how stressful the holidays actually are and taking note of the lack of love in his extended family. After a particularly horrible dinner, an upset Max tears up a letter to Santa and wishes his family would disappear. Though the graphic novel was technically released before the film, Krampus Shadow of St. Nicholas could easily work as a sequel to the film. There's nothing that contradicts the film and, if anything, it can be viewed as a sidequel that takes place during Krampus. After all, if Santa can be all over the world in one night, why can't Krampus? But aside from fitting neatly into Krampus's continuity, Shadow of St. Nicholas does a lot of fascinating things that could be explored if it were adapted into a proper movie. The anthology aspect of Shadow of St. Nicholas is a great way to switch things up from the original, which just focused on the Engels. Fans of Dougherty's previous anthology work, Trick or Treat, know he thrives with that formula. With a little bit of reworking and maybe an extra story, Shadow of St. Nicholas could easily be the winter equivalent of Dougherty's Halloween classic. But the greatest thing the graphic novel does that would make for a good film is the things it does to build on Krampus's lore and mythology. The three stories make it clear that Krampus isn't just out to punish kids who act out at Christmas time. Krampus comes for all manner of people whose personal struggles are dragging them down, not just around the holidays, but in life. Hell, the third story shows that Krampus even switches up his techniques by putting the property developer through his own twisted version of A Christmas Carol, which also reveals that the souls Krampus doesn't save become his new minions. There are a lot of great ideas in the book that really deserve to be seen by a wider audience. With Krampus nearly a decade old at this point, the chances of a sequel are growing smaller and smaller, though in a world of reboots, it's never zero. A movie that adapts Krampus' Shadow of St. Nicholas would be great for those who have been craving more twisted holiday fun. While getting a sequel is a long shot, the graphic novel is still a great expansion of Doherty's original film, and anyone who gets a kick out of Krampus should add this to their Christmas list this year.